the rise of the robots, which is trend number 7. You'll see here in the same way that we're predicting the first trillionaire will be in 2025. At the same time, we're also now predicting the singularity arriving by 2025. Now, that's pretty phenomenal. Now think about it in context of what you're going to invest in and who you're going to invest in and why you're making that investment in the first place and how it links to the future of not just digitalization and technology, but the future of ourselves and our civilization as well.
When will superhuman AI arrive? Elon Musk has just made a wild prediction that it will be here within 5 years. That's far faster than expected. Elon Musk calls this our biggest existential threat. 3 years ago, tech billionaire Masayoshi said it would take 30 years. And yeah, he was equally worried about it. At the Mobile World Congress, he said, one of the chips in our shoes in the next 30 years will be smarter than our brain. We'll be less than our shoes, and we are stepping on them.
Masayoshi-san, a lot of people thought, oh, he's lost his touch after WeWork didn't achieve what WeWork wanted to achieve. But actually, the opposite has happened. He's actually wealthier now than he has ever been because he's not doing the same as the likes of Elon Musk. He's doing the investment side where he's investing in companies run by people like Elon Musk. But you can see here, he's got these golden eggs where as his IPOs happen, the eggs then hatch. And this year, he's got 6 mega IPOs which are taking place. You'll see there's a list of them here. There's Didi Chuxing, which hasn't happened yet. ByteDance hasn't happened yet. Biggest AI company in the world that's going to be listing. Coupang has just gone through its IPO and it's one of the most successful of the year so far. Tokopedia actually is, I believe, doing a SPAC this year where SoftBank has invested its $100 billion vision fund. This was actually written a few years ago, 2018. That's when I really started tracking what he was involved in. DoorDash, I invested in all these companies. And that's where I made most of my money is following with the people out there that already know what they're doing, but also learning from them, right? And it didn't mean I invest in everything that Masayoshi-san does, but I invest in where I can. Arm Holdings, you can see, is one of the biggest. Uber obviously had its public listing. Arm Holdings is a new generation, especially the Intel of tomorrow. You can see here in the ARC Big Ideas document that I gave you a link to, you can see here it talks about how Intel is dropping because the whole of Intel is based on 2.0, 3.0. How ARM now powering the majority of developer PCs by 2030. This is graphic GPUs instead of CPUs. And you can see just how much of the market they're going to end up taking. ARM was bought over by Masayoshi-san, and then Masayoshi-san sold the company to Huang. Now ARM is actually part of NVIDIA, which is Huang's company. So I'm a big investor in NVIDIA. And again, I'm not saying you should go do all these things as well, because you might have interest in a totally different area. Like your interest might be in the environment and you're focusing at the companies there, or your interest might be in the space travel, whatever it happens to be. But the most important thing is to know whatever you're interested in, there are already entrepreneurs and investors in that space. And if you haven't started following them all on Twitter and listening to what they're saying every day, you're missing the opportunity to stay on the cutting edge when the real opportunities start showing up as well. So I will invest in whatever I want to keep a watch on, but I'll invest just a small amount to begin with, just like you heard Marcus talk about investing just a small amount in an ICO. It means that you're going to keep on being interested in what's happening there. But then when a liquidity event happens, or when there's a really big jump that's going to take place, then I'll invest a lot more. Like, Cardano is a good example as a cryptocurrency. Knowing that they're actually going to be having a big launch in August means that I'm stocking up on Cardano right now, right? So it's just being aware that things will happen where it's almost predictable that when those things happen, there's going to be a shift in pricing. And that's what it really means to have wholesale purchases instead of retail purchases. So don't think of yourself as a retail investor. Think of yourself as a wholesale investor, which means you don't want to be there on the marketplace with everyone else. You want to be on the inside where you have those opportunities that others aren't even willing to look for. This here is SoftBank's 30-year vision. It's on the SoftBank site. And you can see on here, they actually explain, this is Masayoshi-san. He has a 300-year vision, of which you can see 30 years is just chapter 2 of this 300-year vision. So imagine that, a 300-year vision where he's actually gone all the way back 300 years to explain what was happening 300 years ago and what's going to happen 300 years from now. This is my reading material, right? Like I don't spend time looking at the general media because you're not learning anything from that. When it talks about the news, it's actually not the news. It's what happened yesterday. Whereas when you're actually reading this is the true news because it truly is new, right? It's things that haven't even happened yet, but they are going to happen. So the real key to success in investing is having some level of predictability in the future. And if you don't have that sense of anticipation of where things are going, you're never going to actually get into the zone or get into flow. The best footballers, the best basketballers are not the ones that go to where the ball was. They're the ones that go to, and they're not even going to where the ball is. They're going to where the ball is going to be. And so in the same way, your mindset as an investor should be hanging around people who are going to where the ball's going to be. In fact, they're the ones kicking it there. And again, this is all free, right? You don't need to go and buy this on Amazon or Kindle. Like they post it on their websites. I'm going to give you one last example of this, which is Elon. I love this, where Elon Musk posted this way, way, way back in 2006. 2006, right? That's almost 2 decades ago, or will we say 15 years ago. Secret Tesla Motor Plan, Motors Master Plan, just between you and me. That was when Tesla was still called Tesla Motors. And he says this whole thing about, we got to change the planet. We got to help the planet. Everything you just heard Chamath talk about in terms of how Tesla is an energy company, not a car company. Well, he wrote this in 2006, just as the Tesla Roadster was coming out. He didn't have any of the other cars. And he actually summarizes it at the bottom. What's he doing here? Number one, build sports cars so that you can fund the rest. Use that money to build an affordable car. Use that money to build a more affordable car. While doing so, provide zero-emission electric power generation options. So actually just using cars as a way to develop batteries, to develop solar power. And then from this, it was exactly 10 years later in 2016. So expect a third one. Part 12 is going to come out in 2026. But he actually posted it in exactly the same time, 10 years later. And he said, the first master plan that I wrote 10 years ago is now the final stages of completion. Now, by the way, 2016 was when he was having all sorts of challenges. That was when people were challenging the fact that he wanted to buy over Solar City, the fact that he wasn't hitting his performance targets, his factories weren't opening on time. This is when he wrote this. I wrote this 10 years ago. It's now the final stage of completion. It wasn't all that complicated and basically consisted of, number one, create a low volume car. Number two, use that money to develop a medium volume car. Number three, use that money to create an affordable car and provide solar power. No kidding. This has literally been on our website for 10 years, right? So he's basically like, yep, that's our plan. That's what we're going to do. And we're still doing it. And then he ends up saying, I'm adding some more onto this, right? So what are we going to do next 10 years? We're going to create stunning solar roofs, right? So that's what he's actually focusing at right now. Expand the electric vehicle product line to address all major segments. He's been doing that, as you know. Develop a self-driving capability that's 10 times safer. He's doing that and releasing that this year and enabling your car to make money for you when you aren't using it. That's the Tesla network, which also is launching this year. So Kathy Woods, when she's looking at all of this, she's like, right, I'm investing in Tesla because I believe Elon Musk can make these things happen. And therefore, it's about the belief on who you believe, who has credibility out there as you're growing as well. But it all comes down to vision. At the end of the day, the future is uncertain. We know that. As an investor, you want to find certainty. You won't find it in media making predictions. You won't find it even in potentially investors from the past making decisions. Like Warren Buffett has done very well over time, but do not rely on Warren Buffett to actually tell you what's going to happen with cryptocurrencies or this new future. He's already said, I would not invest in Tesla. I would not invest in Bitcoin. But if you actually say, well, what kind of a future do I want? Do I want the kind of future that Warren Buffett is wanting, which is basically investing in railroads and in steel and in power, in oil, fossil fuel companies, consumer goods like Coca-Cola? Is that the future I want? Everyone drinking Coca-Cola? Or is it the future that Elon has given me? And you invest your money based on whichever one has the vision that you want to see come true. And as a result, you're going to end up with both income and impact as a result of doing that as well.